Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to the Other Side Lifestyle podcast. We still don't know if you can hear my son's little intro song with this new platform we're using, but I am excited about our guest today because I think her message will resonate with a large portion of our audience. And I came across, I don't even know if Karen Jackson on Midlife Revelations on Instagram, came across her page. I would assume maybe somebody shared something and opened the link. This is, I would say, at least a year or so ago. And right away, just loved her message in her posts, what she was posting, her captions, and resonated right away with. I loved it. Started following her. I've shared her stuff more than once since then, and had to get her on because she went through a little Instagram turmoil kind of a thing. We'll find out and we'll see. And I'm looking forward to diving deep into some of the stuff. And I think it will be an awesome episode. She's never been on a podcast before. She's acting.
No, one.
Oh, you're like, I haven't done this before.
Wow. Okay.
So she's already seemingly comfortable and acting cool. I know she was a little bit nervous about being maybe on with the two of us and kind of wondering why the hell am I on the show when they had all these like big name people recently, like Alan Aragon, Mike Israetel, which is always exciting. But I love talking to people like us. It's great having all those people on, and it's been a cool experience, but I'm excited to talk with Karen.
Let's give Jimmy a round of applause for actually finding a guest to come onto the show for once. And,
he says that every time I bring a guest on, every time. And we will act like it's the first time every time. We will act like it's the first time.
It doesn't happen often,
every
folks,
time.
but when it happens, it's a treat. It's a treat.
It is a treat.
It usually believes that Jimmy actually really enjoys somebody's content. So, Karen, you must have struck some type of agreement because Jimmy doesn't like anybody, and nobody likes him.
Correct.
So typically, whoever's in the middle of us two here on the screen is going to be somebody who's probably going to end up not following Jimmy afterwards.
Possibly. So, how you doing?
Good. I'm a little surprised to be here, but glad to. Thank you for having me on.
It's not that important of a show. Don't worry. Like, think about this conversation. Have you ever? I'm sure you've been to a concert or like a baseball game. You know, like when after you pee and you're washing your hands at the sink next to a bunch of drunk girls. That's what this conversation is going to be like. Just chill, relax. We're probably going to compliment on each other's hair and makeup and stuff like that. That's what this is going to be. So enjoy it.
Right. Okay.
It is. Luckily, it's a ROM screen for me is very blurry. It loads in high def, but it's very blurry right now, so I don't have to look at him in high def, which is always a treat for me. You know?
I hate seeing myself, period. I'd actually want to turn that tile off, but
I
can't.
Anyway, Karen, what did you do today?
Well, I got my workout in. I did my walk, so just all the regular stuff. So
nice.
I'm retired, so
you probably did a ton of cardio and didn't eat anything, right? Because I heard that's what works.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way to do it. So you're retired. How long have you been retired?
10 years.
Wow. Yeah. How old are you?
60.
60?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think that you were there yet.
Well, we're going to have to definitely show people what the hell she looks like. Because if this is what 60 looks like, I'm excited for 60.
Yeah. No,
you should be.
Yeah, it'll definitely be on YouTube. People could see. You're loving retirement then. I mean, you didn't wait until retirement to try to get healthy and just waste your time. You're probably enjoying it a little bit. 10 years. You getting bored?
Yeah. No, I'm not.
so that's actually a great way to start because there are a lot of people, and I think what separates people like you from the people that don't get anything done as they age is that they don't have that like curiosity or that white belt mentality of like, I want to still continue to self-develop, educate myself, do new things, try new things, push myself past certain limits. And I feel like some people hit at that certain age, like the kids are out of the house, my job is coasting, it is what it is, I'm going to retire soon. I'm just like on this boring perpetual autopilot mode where I don't want to think about anything new. So what advice can you give to folks that are kind of in their late 40s, 50s, heading into their 60s? Like, how do you get yourself excited for this next phase of life?
Oh gosh, I don't think there's a lack of excitement in women my age. It's just the lack of knowledge about how do you do this. For me, it was like, well, I was in education, so I was always about learning and growing and teaching people. So
What
when
grade
I
did you
retired,
teach? What grade did you teach?
I taught everything from kindergarten through 8th grade, and then I was an administrator in elementary, middle, and high school.
Oh.
So.
Did we message when I was going on a rant about like homework? I had a handful of educators like reach out and principals, and now and you're saying that I'm like, oh yeah. We talked about that stuff. So you got at what state did you work in?
Colorado,
and you retired at 50.
Yeah, well, yes, I did. So I took an early retirement. I was eligible, but I took an early retirement because I got a cancer diagnosis and I had lots of surgeries, and
we got a lot of time back here.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it happens. I mean, so anyway, it was breast cancer diagnosis. I had like 8 surgeries in 12 months, and being out of a building for that long, just can't do it. So I was newly remarried. Okay. So it was kind of like, hey, maybe this is the time to just say goodbye to the job. We're all more than our jobs anyway. So retired.
How was being an administrator after being a teacher? Were you like, what is, like you're probably finding out about all the idiotic things other teachers do. And you're like, I had no idea. Did you have to deal with any of that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah. Well,
Tell us names. We want names.
We want names.
Okay. Numbers, home addresses, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually the administrator who would get hired to come in and kind of redo everything.
Clean house.
Clean house. Schools weren't doing well, then I would get hired to come in. And so I was lucky enough, I got to usually hire most of my own staff. And
oh, nice.
To turn around stuff, but I loved it.
Jimmy, you're lucky that she wasn't your administrator, because you would be
I would have been gone. I'd be gone.
One of the first people on the cut list.
Long gone. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Karen would have liked my style. I don't know.
She would have had you relegated to like the back corner of the school where nobody knew about you, like behind the janitor spot.
Exactly where the phys ed teachers are. The building, exterior of the building.
That is true.
So that we can take it outside. We never have to walk through the halls or interact with other teachers. I think that's what allowed me to survive 23 years. 23 years so far.
Perfect.
Not having to interact. So all right, cool. Then in education, recently remarried, cancer diagnosis, tons of surgeries. What was your background? How was exercise or health and exercise or any of that? Was that always a part of your life? Did you play sports growing up? Did you always kind of stay healthy through young adulthood and college? Did you put on a freshman 15? I want to know those things.
I ran track in high school, but I didn't stick with it. Went to college, did not play sports, did not pack on the freshman 15. I actually was one of the rare ones who actually lost a little bit of weight, but
all right,
probably too much drinking and not enough eating. But anyway,
calorie counting. Calories count. Calorie matters. Anyway,
that's right. Anyway, so I got married pretty young. I was actually in the Air Force before I went into education, so there was a lot of physical fitness involved with that. I was actually assigned to a mobile combat unit in Germany while I was in the Air Force. Ended up getting out, though, shortly after I joined, because I was in a mobile combat unit and I got pregnant. I was married, and they said either find a guardian for your son or get out. So I said bye-bye. Yeah. But that was the early 80s.
Okay.
Anyway, so then I went into education, raised 3 kids, and really fitness was kind of like, but mainly like the cardio, like the workout videos. I did like P90X. So it was kind of always there in the background, but I didn't get like super serious or really consistent with it until I was 50.
Wow. Was the diagnosis and the surgeries a big part of that? Did that change, or was it just by happenstance?
No, I just found myself with, after raising kids and working really hard, and you know what it's like to be an educator and long days. And I had the time, and well, I should talk about, okay, so I hired a personal trainer. She was great. She was actually on the Olympic team. We have the headquarters here in Colorado, and she was my trainer, so she was really good. So I started strength training with her 4 days a week, and stuck with that pretty consistently through my early 50s, and then was kind of like, okay, I can probably handle this on my own now. But I was your typical, I'm in the gym, I'm working really hard, I'm not really seeing results, yeah, I'm stronger, but it's not really showing up on my body. Did not, and I remember her very clearly saying, like, you need to eat more. You need to eat more protein. I'm thinking, how do I do that?
I have 1.5 hard-boiled eggs. How much more protein can I eat?
That's right. So anyway, so I think I was pretty classic in that regard. So then I did go out on my own, gym membership, but still, I was still on that, like, I just can't figure out this nutrition thing. And, of course, the pandemic hits, everything shuts down. Periods of time when, like, my kids were young, or after a pregnancy or whatever, when my weight was up, and I would do the typical diet and, bring it back down, and then kind of just, eat the way I always did. But anyway, so the pandemic, everything's closed down. You couldn't even build out a home gym at that point because no equipment was available.
Yeah, and people online were crushing people financially. Instead of like $1 a pound for a dumbbell, it's $2 to $3 a pound. It was
crazy. More expensive than gold.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So anyway, it was kind of like, well, might as well just eat, and that's all we could do anyway. So over that, course of that year and a half or whatever, I put on about 15 pounds, and I just was like, I'm going to figure this out once and for all. I think like a lot of women, and so I'm kind of in this online midlife women's fitness transformation sphere. And of course, we're all spending a lot of time online during that time too. So I, kind of stumbled upon a few accounts of older women making big changes, lifting weights.
Oh, so you mean you were looking at the right type of messaging as opposed to looking at the 24-year-old booty influencers?
Well, there's that too, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I started to kind of research a couple of these coaching groups, and I thought, okay, I'm going to just do this because.
Was it to become potentially a coach, or you wanted to learn more about? Okay. So it's coaching groups.
I wanted
for people who wanted guidance personally, not coaching groups to help you become a coach.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yes. No, I was applying as a client to a couple of different places. I guess I want to backtrack a little bit because I think a lot of women my age too. I mean, I grew up in like the prime, what I would call like the cosmopolitan diet era. My mom's always on a diet. Nobody's teaching us how to eat. We had no idea. It was all about being as tiny as possible. And
how many snack wells did you consume in the late 80s, early 90s?
Probably a lot. Yeah. A lot of Weight Watchers stuff. Yeah.
What a fucking nightmare the 80s were. I mean, just the amount.
I could still taste the devil's food cake snack wells. I could see it. I could feel it. Everything. It's in my mouth. It's crazy. Anyway.
So anyway, none of us were taught how to eat. We have no clue.
Yeah.
Well, and that hasn't changed. 35, 40 years later, nothing's changed. Nobody's going to ever teach, because there's no such thing as a standardized curriculum for this stuff. And there never will be, because the reality is the fitness industry is very good at keeping things close to the cuff and monetizing off of bullshit and trends and continuously purporting misinformation so that people are lost purposely so they can come back to the fitness industry for help when they need it. And unfortunately, when the government gets their grubby little fingers into things, that doesn't make anything any better because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about either.
Well, then you add the food lobbyists who it's like, ooh, people are wanting low fat. Let's make low fat food products and we can sell
everything. That. Yep. No, it's and that's why it's very hard to fault the individual. Like it's very hard to fault the individual who's trying and who's just really just frustrated and lost because they don't have good, credible, trustworthy resources that aren't. And the reality is how do you know? How do you vet quality information. Like, as a person who's a consumer of this type of information, unless you're sitting there in the weeds, spending 2 to 3 hours a day educating yourself, which you're not going to as a person who's got kids and a job and other responsibilities, it's very hard to do. And I sympathize with people. So I think it's really cool that you were able to take your life in your own hands at 50 and still be willing to kind of find the light, which a lot of people never do.
I want to get into the coach. We're definitely not going to skip over the coaching group thing, because I know this was the beginning of kind of opening your eyes to some of the bullshit that's out there. I'm curious, since you talked about getting into lifting, getting the trainer, was that something where you were recognizing, hey, I think lifting would be good for me? Or were you just,
Oh, yeah.
okay, you were like, I need to start lifting, so I'm going to get a trainer, get guidance so that I'm actually doing things right. Okay. I was curious about if that was what the motive behind that was. So you recognize the importance of lifting as a female. You already spent the majority of your life being targeted with Jane Fonda and other cardio, Pete IDX, like you said, probably some hip hop abs with Sean T. Probably have a couple of those. A lot of VHS going on back in the day.
Just rewind your videotapes, please.
Please rewind. Yeah. So you're doing the training, you're getting into it. You're like, let me learn more about nutrition. Let me get into one of these group coaching type things and get some guidance in a group. It's a nice ease of access. It's not one-on-one, learn some stuff. You get into a group. You don't have to say who it was, obviously. What was that?
All the names.
You can put it in the chat. What was that experience like? And how long did you sign up for? And how'd that work?
Okay. So, I got into I was actually in a 1-to-1. So, but it was a cohort group. So, led by a female professional physique athlete.
A name that we may recognize.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
we'll talk later about it. Aram is dying right now. He's dying to know. Put it in the chat.
I'm racking my brain.
Put it in the chat. Anyway, we'll find out later. So you're in the group, big name person, physique person. We will continue to interrupt you. That's what we do. Go ahead.
That's okay. So there are several coaches, and I get in there and I'm excited. And I think I came in a little bit ahead of the curve because I had already been strength training. My gateway was, hey, I definitely want to drop this 10 pounds I put on, but, I really want to learn how, learn the nutrition piece. And I knew that the missing piece for me was the reverse diet piece. What's your exit strategy? I just wanted to really nail that. And I also knew that maintenance was not a place that most women were living. And I really wanted to kind of hone in on, okay, I want to see the whole picture here. I don't just want to see the fat loss phase, because I could do fat loss. How do I get out of this? Then how do I learn how to maintain that? So anyway, and I came in probably a little bit ahead too, because I already had been tracking macros. I did have my protein pretty high. I was still probably messing around with them, not sure how far to push the carb kind of thing, but that was my goal. Kind of, I want to learn. I want to be able to maintain this, develop some skills, and be able to, be at a level of self-mastery with this. So I entered the group, and I got assigned to the first coach. And, of course, well, I want to go back to this because there's this whole, when I finally figured out, okay, I'm going to apply to this, it's like they make it seem like there's a big application process.
Yeah, like you might not get in.
Yeah.
There's only 11 spots.
Yes. I'm looking for 3 badass women or whatever. Yeah.
Three badass. What are the other catchphrases in there?
I need 2 women between the ages of 44 and 47.
Yeah, driven,
who make over $140,000 a year.
No, but what's the high performance individuals? Like, instead of saying people who make a lot of money, it's always like high performance driven individuals. It's like, I make a lot of money. There's always the catchphrases.
Yeah.
All right, so they got you in.
But who's sitting there being like, oh my God, that's me. That's me. They're talking to me.
Karen
But the only criteria was, do you have a credit card and the financial means to pay?
I mean, that's what my criteria is to people. Are you willing to do the work, and can you afford to pay me?
Oh, they didn't care if I did the work, I don't think.
But
I've started referring.
I would like to know that you're capable of at least text messaging. If you can text message and your credit card works, you could be a client.
I'm at the point now,
Yeah.
I will refer people out if from the conversation it seems like there is a bigger issue and it's like mainly emotional eating and there's some of those issues, like no interest really in tracking that frightens them or whatever. I will I'll refer people out because there's other people that are better in those areas. But either way, it's funny. Point being, the tagline that they'll suck you in with and make you feel like I gotta really impress them with this application, and it's like, and everybody's in anyway.
So can you imagine if your doctor made you do that? Do you have cancer? Are you between the ages of 40 and 60? Well, you qualify for treatment. Like, no, like, you just fucking come in and let's get you healed. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah. So anyway, I get in, I get assigned my first coach, and I get a message saying, you'll have a call with this coach, which I did. It lasted all of 10 minutes. There really wasn't a lot of questioning. So right away, I started to kind of wonder, don't they need to kind of know something about me, like maybe personal preferences or, you have any experience with any of this? But anyway, I basically got a set of macros and I got a, training plan loaded into an app. And
obviously
I was
custom.
on my way.
Obviously custom.
Yeah, no.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Very custom.
Yeah.
Did they even at least have your information, like height, weight, age, to be able to say this is where the macros are coming from?
Well, I think that the person that I had the initial talk with on the phone did, but my coach did not have that information when she was calling me.
Yeah. So you get the stuff. How does the coaching relationship work? Did you actually do the program?
I did. Yeah. Okay. I was like, all right, well, I started nailing my macros, doing my training, logging it, doing my check-ins. And there wasn't a lot of there was hardly any feedback from the coach that I was assigned to first. So, I would put my check-in, do my video, do my pictures, load everything in, send in my form, and I wouldn't hear from her. So,
period, or for some time,
sometimes not ever, unless I contacted her first and said, hey, did you get my form?
Too much.
Any feedback?
Do you remember what the calories kind of were and how many days a week was the training? And the reason I'm asking this stuff is so that people, if they ever come across this, these can be potentially red flags for you. Potentially.
Yeah. So she didn't start me super low. I'm about 5'6". I'm not really big or anything. So she started me in the 1,600 kind of range.
Okay. What was weight at the time?
135.
Okay. That's fine.
So,
I don't think that's a bad thing.
No. It was a little slow, but anyway, and I understand that, you really kind of do have to find out where somebody is and how their body responds.
Well, and you have to be able to gauge compliance. So if you, let's say I give somebody 1,600 calories today, this week, if you're doing your shit, logging your food, checking in with me, I'm probably going to end up giving you more food on a week-to-week basis to give you the highest level of maintenance calories or fat loss calories. So I don't like painting with. I don't paint with a broad brush and say that all coaches are bad for just handing people shit to start with, because a good coach can give you anything to start with, but a good coach is going to be somebody who adjusts it as your biofeedback changes and as you're giving them the information that they need to coach you. But if I was to just hand somebody macros and I don't coach them, then I can't change them. So this is where I think people get lost because they don't work with professional help. They go and they refer to a calculator on the internet that tells them that they're burning 7,500 calories a day and that they should be eating 9,000 calories a day. And then they're like, well, I'm super active. The 35 minutes in the gym doesn't count.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. And absolutely. I think there has to be kind of a period of time, over the course of a few, maybe up to a month, find out, how does this person respond?
Yeah.
Yep.
The thing was, there just was no communication. I didn't expect, miracles overnight or anything, but, I guess I did expect, hey, thanks for the check-in. This looks like we're on target.
Yeah. Give me a thumbs up emoji or something.
Yeah. Give me, can I have some proof of life?
Yeah. So anyway, we continued like that. I was with this coach for about 3 months. Did bring up the concern with the lead coach, hey, I'm just not really, maybe we're just not the right personality match or whatever. I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. I believe she did know what she was doing. But anyway, so I tried to have a conversation with the coach and say, listen, I'm not somebody who needs a ton of feedback, but I do expect, something. And, just, hey, this looks like we're making the progress I was expecting or not, or, whatever. So she came back with a whole list of, she said, well, if you want faster results, which wasn't exactly what I was talking about there, she gave me a whole list of foods that she thought I should eliminate. And basically,
give us a few that you were like, what?
Yeah. Well,
I think I would have been left eating ground turkey and maybe rice.
It's just
So
all,
I mean,
all carbs, all variations of carbs.
It was
So a
low
bodybuilding
FODMAP.
diet.
Yeah. I mean, take eggs out, take any bread out, take any grains, take, beef out, take whatever, because her rationale was, well, maybe you have inflammation or gut issues, and we should.
But based off of what? She didn't get any feedback.
Exactly. Well, but I also said, I feel great. I'm not having gut issues. I'm not having problems with inflammation. I don't have achy joints. I feel good. So that was obviously a huge red flag. And I told her, no, I wasn't going to do that. So, I knew enough about nutrition that I was going to eat I knew there was going to be restriction. Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of bread in my diet at that point. It was basically fruits and vegetables and lean meats and, Yeah. But then she was trying to push a food sensitivity test on me, that I could purchase through her.
Of course, yeah. Gotta dig deep for $500 to find out what's swimming around in your stomach.
Yeah. Anyway, again, no. So I was with her for about 3 months, and then I was switched to another coach who, and at this point I was already thinking there's no way. I had to commit for 6 months up front. So that was prepaid. So I had 3 more months to go. And at this point I was thinking I could have done this on my own,
Clearly.
I could have just, gotten a good training app, fixed my own macros and done this on my own. I got switched to another coach. He knew I was really frustrated, so he kind of ramped things up. And the frustration wasn't so much about fat loss at that point, but just
it wasn't the protocol that was the problem. It was the absenteeism that was the problem.
Yeah. And I expected a lot more for the money I was paying. Yeah. So anyway, he really ramped things up. Basically, I would say, and I want to be clear about this. I kind of asked for it. I said, I am tired of just, kind of dorking around here. Let's just do this. Yeah. So, I would say he probably ran me through what a prep would look like.
Like a competitor prep?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really low calories, carb cycling, water protocol, meal timing protocol, step counts. Everything. And then the training was pretty intense. But so anyway, that was my last 3 months in my fat loss phase. I was with him. Again, I asked for that protocol, and it really was, I would say that was a really big learning opportunity for me to see how this looks and to understand how deep you have to dig to get to that point. And I think that's something that a lot of women don't understand is, they talk about that last 5 pounds or whatever. That's grindy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That is really grindy.
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old were these coaches? Younger? I don't think it totally matters. You can get this from any coach at any age, potentially. Were they just younger people, no families, no kids?
No family. Well, no kids. Professional bodybuilders, professional physique athletes. Slightly. In the 40s, late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah.
So
curious.
So anyway, I did that with him. Ended my fat loss phase, and actually, I called my fat loss phase. He was trying to get me down to, between like 115, 117. I hit 119, and I woke up one morning. I'm like, we're done. And to his credit, he was great. He said, absolutely, you're done.
How long did you diet for?
Well, very slowly for 3 months. And then we did this, really pretty aggressive protocol for 3 months. So 6 months total. And then
so that aggressive time, though, that was a 3-month aggressive time when you knew you were with that guy. You were pretty strict for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And where were, so I know you said you were in the 1600s in the first 3-month batch. Where were you calorie wise in the second 3-month batch?
Between 11 and 1200, sometimes lower.
Okay. But again, I want to clarify this, folks, for anybody listening. Yeah. There's a lot of shitfluencers going to tell you that 1200 calories is too low and that's what an infant eats. But if you weigh 120 fucking pounds and you want to lose weight, where else you going to go? You got to cut calories. I'm sorry, that's just how it works.
Yeah,
now,
people need to know the difference between dieting at 1200 and living at 1200.
Yeah, you're not.
That's the difference.
Again, if you're 105, you might be able to live at 1200 calories if you're not really moving that much, if you don't have a ton of muscle mass on you, if you don't desire much of a physique change, if you're just kind of taking 5,000 to 7,000 steps a day and just existing, you can live on 1200 calories at 105 pounds. But if you want to look like somebody who lifts weights,
and if you want to be happy, I mean, if you want to feel joy in your soul, things like that, you generally might need more because you're going to need some energy generally to do those things. 105 pounds, not very active, living on 1200 calories. Yeah. But how happy are you? And you're just sitting around, not really doing much of anything.
But somebody like that who's going to be eating more than that and isn't expending the energy is going to get fat.
Correct.
That's it.
Correct.
It's thermodynamics.
You bring up a great point, Aram. Depending on your size, your weight, where you're starting or whatever, how far you want to take this, calories get low.
Yeah. Not forever, though, but for some time.
Not forever. And that's the thing, that women don't understand. It's like, well, and I didn't understand it either. I'm like, okay, well, it takes me 1200 calories to lose weight, then, is that where I just have to stay in order to maintain it? That was the missing piece. So you're right. You don't stay there forever. You move yourself back to maintenance calories, which most women don't.
Yeah. So this was what, like 2 years ago, about?
Yeah, so this was 2022. I joined in March of 2022, and then my fat loss phase ended in September of 2022. A few weeks of reverse diet, maybe 6 weeks of reverse dieting, and then maintenance, where I just sat for the rest of the year that I had been in. So, and then I've been on my own for a year.
Can you describe the reverse dieting part as it was prescribed to you? Because I'm curious about what types of protocols that they installed in order to get that done.
I think that their basic guidelines were, about half that. Typically, a reverse diet would take about half the time that you were in a fat loss phase. But he jumped my my protein pretty much stayed the same, obviously.
Yeah, as it should.
So, carbs went up right away by like 500 calories. So it wasn't like this teeny little incremental thing. I got
jumping right back to almost maintenance then.
That's a nice jump.
Yeah. Okay. And then, go ahead. Were you going to say?
So anyway, it was, I guess it was maybe 4 weeks, reverse diet, 4 or 5 weeks.
Okay.
So calories jumped up by about, you said 500?
At the
that
beginning.
Was my first jump.
At the reverse point. And then
that's like not even a reverse diet in terms of.
And then did it go up again for the maintenance phase? Okay, so talk about that entire arc, because this is something that I think is really important to cover.
So my reverse actually, it had several jumps. So right out of the gate. So, fat loss ended. And that day he said, I want you to add in, 500 calories. Maybe it wasn't 400 calories, mostly carbs, because my carbs were low, obviously.
Yeah. She had, just so you guys know, she had 12 carbs during the diet. She had 12.
She was able to just sniff her toothpaste, and that was it.
Yeah.
That's right. No.
Half her carbs were, smelling soft pretzels, and the other half of the slice of sourdough bread. She could smell the other half. She could eat the one half.
That's right. This is kind of an important thing. I think that if women get into a coaching situation, so, my carbs got dropped down to almost like keto level, 75 carbs for a while. And I was just like, I couldn't function. Yeah. I'm trying to train, lift heavy 5 days a week, do 45 minutes of cardio 5 days a week, plus 10 to 12,000 steps. So, I think it's good for people to know if they're in a coaching situation to talk to their coaches. I actually did. I texted my coach and I said, I need more carbs. If I'm going to train, I have to have some. And we kind of found a place. So my low carbs weren't any lower than like 100 grams, because that's what I felt. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm still low, but I can function on this. I can actually get something out of my training. It's not impeding my progress. So I think that's a good thing for women to know, that this is kind of a little experiment between you and the coach about how your body will best function under these kind of stressful situations.
Yeah.
But we all know that stress is what we need for adaptation. So and this isn't to refute anything you're saying. I think you're absolutely spot on. Again, I'm doing this for the context of the listener, because I want listeners to understand that, let's say, for example, Karen told the coach, like, hey, I need more carbs. That has to come with context. And the context has to also be, hey, I need more carbs. And I'm also accepting of the fact that if I gain a little bit of weight back, I'm not upset about it.
Right.
Because the rate of weight loss slows down, I'm okay with it.
There has to be that. Like, that's the biggest problem that I see in coaching, is there's never that back and forth. There's never a cohesive discussion that's had about this stuff. Like, it's just, here's what I perceive as to be your goal. Here's what I think should be your protocol. And then it's just, let's just see it through to the end without any fucking deviation whatsoever. That's not how it works. With the way that I would coach somebody is like, hey, Karen, I understand you want more carbs, but I also want to explain to you that it might slow the rate of weight loss and it might impact what you see on the scale. Are you okay with that? And if your answer back to me is yes, boom, here's an extra 50 grams of carbs. Have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. My point wasn't to say, hey, just ask your coach, but to start paying attention to how your body feels and responds.
Bring up concerns.
And
Don't be afraid to bring up concerns.
Yes. All the time.
This should be a partnership, you know? And that's a big point too, is my whole thing was going into this to really learn about my own body and how to take care of it on my own. So I felt like there had to be that dialogue, and he was very good with that. So good. Anyway, do the reverse over the course of, like, I don't know, maybe 5-6 weeks. And then I'm at maintenance, and I got to a maintenance about 2000, and I was like, nice. 250 grams of carbs. I mean, I really found too that my body I do great with carbs. I always thought, carbs are bad for me at my age and everything, but my body actually does better on higher carbs and lower fat. So again, you got muscles. Paying attention to your own body and how you're feeling and how foods affect you and how does your training feel, to learn about yourself.
And be willing to experiment with it, and look at I can't tell you how many times I say that, like, you have to be going into some of these things, like, with the attitude of, let's see, let's try it out, taking results and expectations out the window. Let's see what happens, for somebody, especially in the situation where you're in, where you're already fit, you have a background, things like that. But then some people, they have that background and it is that high intensity interval training. They want to sweat, they want to feel all that stuff. And they're like, I want to lose this last few pounds. And it's like, well, we're gonna have to try something different. No, if I stop doing this, there's no way that I could lose this belly fat. And it's tough. They get so stuck in their head. When did you kind of start posting on Instagram? What was your intention with it? And then what kind of changed?
So the women in my cohort, we had like a private Facebook group. We were encouraged to post our progress pictures. Some of us started
testimonials,
Instagram accounts.
Tag the coach, testimonials.
That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had an Instagram account. It was private, but then as I got going with this, we started to open them up to, other women who were in this group. It was private for, I don't know, 6 months, 7 months or whatever. And then I opened it up, public. And the purpose for me at that point was really just to let women know that, I will tell you, I look very average going in, I was, 10, 15 pounds over where I would want to be. I looked, like a typical American midlife woman. And I just wanted to show people that it's not too late. You can change. You have a lot of agency. tried to give some tips on, I mean, I am not a coach, but, the basic, just kind of, universally accepted tenets of good health and fitness. So I was sharing that, and was getting increasingly hooked into these other transformation groups and clients and everything. So kind of took off for a while. I think at one point I had, I don't know, maybe about 3,000 followers. And then I know we're going to talk about this, but, so I was out there just kind of doing that. And then Instagram got weird.
Tell us what that means to you. What was something that either jumped out? Was it a gradual thing, or was it one day you're like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean when you say it got weird?
Well, I guess I want to go back to the coaching experience. So I'm in this cohort group. We have regular Zoom meetings that are led by the lead coach.
The guru.
Yeah. Yeah. And, professional bodybuilders, professional physique athletes. And we would have guest speakers once in a while. And, so we'd have these women on the calls, just, who are clients. And then we'd also have these guest speakers. And I started to realize, there are a lot of issues. I mean, that whole physique competitor world is just an entirely different world.
Yeah.
And, you're coaching 40, 50, 60-year-old women, which is fine. I mean, they know how to manipulate a body. They certainly do. And they know about training.
Yeah, that's the issue. It's like they want those before and after. At the end of the day, they want the before and after pictures so they can sell the product. Doesn't necessarily matter what the consequences are. You're a lifestyle client, not a physique client, but they're treating you like a physique client basically to get the before and afters, because that's what creates that emotion for somebody to want to throw the credit card out. Yeah.
And I also thought, you enter this and you're, my age, 50. Well, I was 58. So, you're excited about this. There's a lot of momentum. But anyway, we started getting these speakers, and a lot of them were professional physique athletes. And they're talking about their competitions and their, how they've competed like 7 times over the course of a year. And I started to realize there's these people, there's some disorder here. There's not just some. So I remember clearly asking one after she had talked for about 45 minutes, they kind of opened it up and said, do you have any questions? And I asked her, I said, did you ever find that you were really starting to suffer with body dysmorphia or eating disorders or problems? And she was like right away, oh yeah. I deal with it all the time. It's like a
pride point. Yeah.
But I'm thinking, here are all these women my age, and they're soaking this up and listening to this woman talk about her eating habits. And so what are we doing here? And I could, through the course of that year I was with the coaching group, I started to see women, or they would reach out to me, and they started to kind of spiral out a little bit, with some body dysmorphia or increased dissatisfaction with themselves or disordered kinds of eating. And, I want to be clear that, I'm separating disordered kinds of eating with, like food fear and stuff like that. Not a full-blown eating disorder, but so there were some concerns that I started to see with other women. And I did address that with the head coach, but that didn't really go anywhere. So
what did that then? So that's like there's that kind of already there in your head, this disordered stuff. Like, oh, I'm seeing another side to this fitness world that maybe didn't really quite realize before, and especially like there is that pride point of like this body dysmorphia, and then it starts to make people feel like it's normal. So it's normal for you to never be happy with your body. It's normal for you to look at me. I mean, I'm shredded and I still struggle with hating my body. It's like, yeah, we all hate our body. It's like you're celebrating it without even realizing that you're making it normal. But then Instagram got weird. So that's that backdrop of like you finally being maybe exposed to that disordered stuff. And then what do you start seeing on Instagram where you're in there, you have this following that's growing, you're trying to be supportive of other women, show them, hey, you can get into lifting, you can eat, you can be healthy. Here's some things that work for me. And then it turned for you.
Yeah. Well, so I exited the coaching and I was out on my own. And then I started to I think that there were other women who started to realize maybe there's some disorder within this, coaching situation that I'm in, or I'm finding myself feeling like, man, this doesn't feel right. So I guess I think that maybe women started to reach out to me because I was no longer a part of that coaching group, and their questions were like, how are you doing this? Or I'm starting to feel this. Did you ever feel this when you were in the coaching situation? Or so it started like that. And then for a while I thought, well, okay, I know it's there. I've seen it, but how prevalent is this? I thought, well, maybe it's just because I'm so connected to this particular cohort of people that maybe there are more women who are struggling with a little bit of this than there would be in the kind of general population. So I kind of kept going. And then after a while, I started to realize as more women started to reach out or ask questions, as I started, really stepping back and looking at different posts and messaging that was out there, I started to think this is a little more widespread than maybe I initially thought. And I started to kind of look into, what is the prevalence of disordered, some disordered behaviors around this, for women my age, and it's pretty high. Yeah. So anyway, I, at that point, kind of did a U-turn and thought, okay, I need to change my messaging a little bit, because I was finding women they'd want to know how many what's your macros, what's your split, how many grams of protein, and I would occasionally post this is what I had for lunch. And I started to realize people would take that and they would try to implement it at home or follow exactly. And I thought, I have to get rid of this. This is not doing anybody any favors. So I started to take that stuff out of my account and just be more careful about not trying to exacerbate any issue that other women might have been experiencing at that point.
So I don't think there's a problem with that though, Karen. I think as long as you're doing it with plenty of context and you're explaining yourself, what I find problematic is when you just see somebody post something in their story about what I eat in a day or this or that. You better be coming with a lot of information on who you are, how long you've been doing this for, why are you eating this much or this little, why this specific food. If you're painting with that kind of context, then it's up to the individual, the consumer, the user of that information to have some logic and some reason behind how they apply it. It's not your responsibility what happens with the information after it's been delivered cohesively and concisely. The problem is a lot of people just say, this is what I ate. But, okay, cool. Why? And then people will run with that. Just this is what I did at the gym today. Cool. Why? Yeah. As long as there's a why behind it, I don't give a shit what people do on Instagram anymore. Because at least at that point, I'll understand. Yeah.
And I totally agree. I can't be responsible for, what somebody else takes away from my messaging. For me personally, I just didn't want to exacerbate anything.
Yeah. And that makes sense. That makes you responsible. I like that.
Yeah. I am not a coach. I am just someone who has done this work for herself.
Yeah,
and my whole thing was,
you could say all the context in the world, and somebody's like, well, they ignore it because they're like, look at her. I'm just going to eat like that. That's all they're going to take from it. I'm sorry I cut you off. I apologize.
No, that's okay. But, you get enough messages from women who are just full of self-loathing and really struggling. And just for me, I was like, I don't need to add to that. I don't need to put anything out there personally that would make anybody else feel worse about themselves. So I kind of changed my messaging a little bit to be more of, I think there tends to be some shaming sometimes in the fitness sphere too.
Yeah.
I really just picked through my stuff and made my personal posts and made sure, it didn't sound shaming. You have to do this or that. Personal, that was just my choice, so I wanted it to be hey, these basic tenets, they apply to everybody. Yeah. There's a message of, you don't have to kill yourself or hate yourself into this, smaller steps. What I did, I would say, with the coaching was kind of balls to the wall, did it pretty quickly. It doesn't have to look like that either. I was not working. If I were at home and I still had kids at home, or I'm taking care of an aging parent and I'm also still working, that's a lot.
Well,
And I think
Karen,
women
we all
sometimes
have the same 24 hours in a day, Karen. I feel.
no, we don't.
Do you listen? Do
Yeah.
you want results or excuses? You can only
Yeah.
have one. Now, eat the 1,100 calories and your 75 carbs. Shut up! I need an after picture.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
again, context, Karen was already in this
Yeah.
world for a while.
Yeah.
She had to do some shit that other people, like if you're 275 pounds and 5'2" as a woman, anything's going to work for the first year.
Right.
Yeah.
After some time of getting yourself dialed in, your habits start to change on average. For you to get to point C or to point D or to point E, like you're going to have to start to accelerate what you do and how you do it. And you have to get to a level of acceptance of, is this worth it? And do I want to disrupt? How much do I want to disrupt my quality of life to get to the body of my dreams? And is it fucking worth it? Or can I do it for some small period of time, be okay with a couple of pictures that I take because of it, and then reverse back out to a little bit of a fatter self, and that's okay? Like, probably okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
Probably better for my mental health.
Yeah. What I've liked about Karen's messaging from the day one, from what I saw, it was not about getting smaller or anything like that. I definitely noticed hey, you can get out there and you can do this. You can lift and all that. It sounds like the food part was what turned you off the most, not necessarily women not showing their body even in a sexual way, but like not their, it was more the food, not this is me lifting, you can do it too, and making people feel bad about their bodies. It was more the food stuff that could potentially create more disordered behavior. That was the main thing that was bothering you in the space?
No.
No.
I mean, my feed was pretty, I had the typical, like bikini before and afters and progress photos and everything. And, again, I would get comments, direct messaging, from women who they said, you look great, it makes me feel bad about myself. And again, I can't, for me personally, I just didn't feel like I needed to, I don't need to be there doing that, making somebody feel that way. My message really was,
but you're not making anybody feel like.
Yeah, but I understand. I understand that.
I'm looking at a post of your progress from March 22 to January 23, and you're posting pictures that you took along that timeline. If this makes you feel bad about yourself, that's not a Karen problem. That's a you problem.
Well, I know. No, I understand. My point was that, there were a lot of women, and I can understand that, within this age group, I think particularly, who have struggled for a while, who already don't feel maybe so great about themselves. Ron, I've heard you talk about it too. And, me personally, I didn't need to be a part of that.
Yeah.
My message was, you can do it. You don't have to kill yourself to do it.
And that's what this is showing. This is showing that you can do it.
Yes. Small steps, can make a difference. They can pack a big punch. It takes time. Strength training is totally worth it. You can build muscle even as, an older, midlife woman. So that's where I just wanted to focus at. Less on the aesthetic piece of it for me personally, and more on those other things.
And
then also I think be ready.
Yeah.
Be ready. Yeah. Well, the readiness part. So as far as the readiness piece, and I think that's an important aspect of it, describe what it is that people have to be ready for. Because I think when people say like, I'm not ready or this is not the right time, they don't really understand either what they are supposed to be doing or what they should be doing or what they have to change. Like that concept of readiness doesn't, again, come with any context whatsoever. So can you explain to people when you're describing where does the readiness have to be implemented into?
Well, you have to get really clear, I think, okay, what's my goal here? You have to be very clear, how much change can I actually take on at this point in my life and be realistic about that. And you have to commit to being as tight as possible with the nutrition. I think that's the thing. They don't understand how big a player that nutrition piece is. It is the biggest player.
Yeah. They
have to be willing to know that this is going to take time. And then also living an active lifestyle outside of that 1 or 2, 1.5 hour training day too. I think people way underestimate that. So, understanding what those big pillars are and deciding, we're going all in. I mean, if you really want results, that's what I did. I said, I'm going to go all in. I mean, I stopped eating out, for the most part for a certain amount of time because I wanted to get in and get out.
Smart.
I didn't want to mess around. I brought the Tupperware to places if I traveled a little bit, and I did go on a couple of vacations, and I did like a really well controlled like diet break during those, so that hey, maintenance was great. That's all I needed to worry about at that point. I don't want to say oh no to life, but I think women need to understand that if you really want this change, you have to be willing to be really, really tight on your protocols and consistent.
Would you ever open a bag of tuna fish on a plane?
No.
All right, good.
Well, you guys are both missing out. So
I think I think that both of the viewpoints are completely valid of, hey, I'm posting these pictures to show people that they can do it. It's totally valid how somebody responds to it. That's their problem. And I think it's completely valid to be like, I'm not comfortable putting these things out because I can still send the message without putting these pictures out. So I completely support not wanting to do that because, and that's the same reason as Aram, as much as you say, hey, hey, it's up to the consumer to how they handle it. It's not your problem. You're just showing it's capable. Why don't you put before and after pictures up of your clients? One, because he doesn't have any before and after pictures. Two, I'm just kidding.
Because I personally don't find them to be helpful.
Correct, because people see that and they see it instant. And this is exactly why I've maybe once ever put a before and after up. And the times that I have, it's because somebody has sent me a side-by-side of their before and after, and they were really proud of it. And I just kind of wanted to celebrate them, like in my stories or something like that. But because the average person looks at that, they see the before, they see the after, it's this instant transformation. It's not, you don't see the work, the struggle, the ups and downs, this isn't working, what's wrong with me, the wanting to quit. You don't see all that. And then it makes people feel insecure, and it makes them feel bad when they do hit those hiccups. And it's like, I'm never going to get to that after. So we're all on the same page with what that can do for people. And it doesn't paint the whole picture. So I completely, I see both sides. I think they're both valid. But yeah, we have to do what sits well with us at the end of the day. You were going to totally get off Instagram and go to Substack because you wanted to write about these topics and speak to women?
Broaden it a little bit more. But So, I mean, Instagram is a funny place. I mean, I think it just, it feeds into your insecurities. Like I said, I've had now 2 years of experience, with this pretty, wide variety of women, and, a lot of them struggle.
Yeah.
And I can understand why. I mean, I do. So.
And your audience obviously loves you because when I replied, I'm trying to like coerce Karen to stay in. And my one comment was like, I think you should stay and, be the light in the darkness of IG, blah, blah, blah. And then one of her either real life friends or Instagram friends replies, don't pressure Karen. She can do whatever she wants. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, she's got your back. And you were like, no, he's not pressuring me. He's a good guy, blah, blah, blah. So that just shows even the influence you have with these people. And that's why I did encourage you to kind of stick around. I'm like, even if it is just screenshot some of your articles that you're writing, put it on there, like feed people to that other platform. Because I do think that you have a great voice. I think that you have a great message. And you can see joy in you. Like when you're posting a picture, you're smiling, you can see happiness. And that's what I think most people are really looking for. They're looking for that lifestyle. It was like my post the other day about, we are looking for that. We want that lifestyle. Nobody's like, I want to be shredded and skinny and sit on the couch and eat Cheetos all day. It's like you want to experience life, So let's show how we can experience life if we treat ourselves better. Aram, go ahead. I know we both start at the same time.
Karen, you also, I just wanted to ask, like, in your opinion, how much of what people are seeing on Instagram is also a level, they have to take on some personal responsibility with how they interact with certain types of content. Like at some point,
Oh yeah.
You're beyond a child. You're not, it's not like your parents are monitoring your activity on Instagram and saying, don't look at 25-year-old influencers because that's not realistic. Like if you're a 48-year-old woman and you're fucking bored at home or at work and you're scrolling Instagram and all you do is follow bikini competitors and you're 40 pounds overweight, like at what point is it your responsibility to be like, I this doesn't make any sense for me. Like I know for me, I'm not a fucking athlete, so I don't follow athletes.
Yeah.
I just don't, like, because I know that it might fire me up to see a video of somebody doing battle ropes and box jumps and lateral bounds and running 400-meter sprints really, really fast. That's exciting to me.
Is there an Instagram page with just Achilles tears that we can?
Actually, there was an Achilles like series that I was actually looking at before. But again, I'm doing that to source credible information from other people who have healed from it. Like, I'm not going to go look at account. Like I think boxing is cool, but I'm not going to follow a million boxing accounts because that's just not something I'm interested in. Like if you're interested in physique change and you're 40 plus, you should probably look at other women who have achieved physique change who are 40 plus.
Yes.
Are you in the right fucking room to begin with? And that's not any of our responsibility as content creators or people who put out information. We have to be able to like empower people to think for themselves for a half a fucking second. So what's your opinion on that?
But that could be though why she might have people in that age group that are looking to her. And now, geez, even when I look here, I'm seeing these before and after pictures that are making me feel bad. Would I be right in saying that is maybe part of why you were feeling the way that you were feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you, Aram. I mean, there is a personal responsibility there. Again, my decision was just based solely on, what do I feel comfortable putting out there? And yes, I realize, hey, if I post a picture of me in a bikini at 60 and it makes somebody else feel bad, well, they need to own that at some level. But I just personally, because I'm not a coach, I'm not selling a product, I'm not trying to, monetize anything. I'm just an average individual out here who did it. I think for me personally, I'm just more comfortable in showing it in different ways. I can post a workout video or whatever. I just kind of got to the point where does Instagram even need my voice anymore? I mean, I'm not selling anything. I'm not. Yeah.
But I think that it's not about if Instagram needs your voice. If you got a handful of people that are feeling inspired by your stuff, then they need it. So I get that thought. Like, what am I even doing here? What am I doing here? Kind of a thing.
Right.
But if it's a place for you to even celebrate yourself, inspire some people, then I think it's good. And that's what those things are here for, us to be able to utilize if it helps us, be better in some way, kind of a thing. And I think it's helped you, challenge your own thoughts and perspectives on some of these things because you're posting and then you're seeing these things. You're like, what am I doing? And I think those things can be good. I think it's awesome that you're not selling something, there is no ulterior motive in the stuff that you're doing outside of being there to help people. And, I think the reality is
you could probably coach better than half the coaches out there do.
Yeah, so she'll be coaching.
If you wanted to
she'll be
into
coaching
this,
one day.
If you wanted to step into this, I truly believe that there is a space for you here because you're already doing it the right way with integrity, and you're not even trying to. And there are plenty of people that have capitalized on the fact that they are 40 plus and they're fit, and they are just fucking hammering that home and making as much money as humanly possible with their $4.99 a month app that has zero support, zero educational component to it, and no context. So the fact that you're even saying, I have to watch what I put on Instagram because it might fuck somebody up, shows way more responsibility than 90% of the content that's out there. So I applaud you for that.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
Is there anything, what would you say, like your other overriding message to women in your, whatever, we'll say a women over 40, they're kind of feeling a little bit lost. What is your main goal even now potentially with Instagram, or are you doing the Substack thing? Can people find you there? What things do you like to write about and are passionate about in this space or in this life, or what's next for you?
So no, I haven't published anything on Substack at all, but I did kind of find out that I'm interested in writing. So that's a place where I can do more long form. IG is not conducive to that. My personal opinion, having been through this particular coaching experience that I was through, I think that the majority of women probably should, and again, my opinion based on experience, stay away from the professional physique athlete coaching thing. I think they'd be better off with people like you, like Aram.
When I'm not disgruntled and upset at the world, but yes, thank you,
Right.
Jerry.
And you're not so cranky. Yeah.
I listen. I'm human. I get cranky.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to be told I'm pretty, and I'm doing the right things too sometimes.
Yeah. That physique competitor world, I mean, not that you can't do it, but you just really need to be aware of what you're going into. It's a totally different world. And if you're, it's just a different world. And I also think, if you're heading out into a coaching situation one-on-one, really, really dig into what you're getting and make sure that the personality is a match.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing.
And even from your beginning with lifting, get somebody in person. The problem even now with online is it allows you to feel like you tried. You're brand new to lifting. Yeah. You hire your online coach. They're not really supervising you, teaching you how to do things the right way in the moment. It could take you a month and a half to learn how to do a movement right, because you send the video in, you get the cue to fix something, you send the video again. Okay, now you got that, but you have to do this. When all of that could have been immediately fixed that first day that you were lifting. Get somebody in person if you are new to this. It's what you did. I highly suggest that versus trying to get online, because at the end of the day, you did online because it was scary to go in person.
Sure.
It's scary to go in person.
Yeah.
You're going to a gym for the first time. You got this trainer. You feel insecure. You're looking them in the face. It's easy to hide behind a screen. Get somebody in person like Karen did. She had a certain foundation, and then it's like, all right, let me learn some stuff. Let me see what these people are teaching. And unfortunately, she didn't have a great experience for the first one.
Well, no,
but you learned something.
I think she had a great experience. I think her perspective is so positive about it, because what she did was she said, I didn't get what I needed, but I learned what I didn't want.
Correct.
So it's like being in a shitty relationship. Like they're not always going to be home runs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't say that I had a bad experience. I mean, I had a coach that, my first one was, not a good match, and maybe she was somewhere else with her life. I mean, people are people. Yeah. But I felt like I was successful. I learned a lot. And that was my goal. I wanted to learn a lot. I learned a lot. My second coach was very responsive. That pro physique world is really different, though. Yeah. I mean, I think people need to, it looks very shiny and it's very pretty, but it's a different world. And I think some people, I asked my coach at one point, like, what's your success rate here? And I think, he said 20 to 25%.
I mean, that's mine.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that's going to be average.
It depends on what you're saying success in terms of you and me.
Physique transformation, sure.
Yeah.
15, 20%. Yeah. Mindset transformation, 75%. Yeah. Because I don't give a fuck if you ever lose weight with me. Yeah, you can put on 30 pounds.
Yeah, I would say that his 25% is probably which before and after pictures would we use for the next ad.
Right.
That's what the 25% is. Yeah.
And I think, Aram, you bring up a good point. You're not so concerned about, the losing weight or anything, where that is the big focus there. It is very aesthetic driven. And and I think some women go into it, and even I did too, like, it's kind of I wasn't being totally realistic as to where I could get, because we have these images coming at us all the time, and, this is who's leading us and telling us we can all get there. Maybe not, and how hard do you want to work? And I think women need to be realistic about how much they can give, take, change, and how strict do they want this lifestyle? Do they want a lifestyle that's focused, pretty obsessively on a body, or do you want to actually have relationships and occasional meals out and,
Yeah. How much do you bench? What's your max?
I don't do direct chest work.
Understandable. Understandable.
I would still recommend some push-ups, though, because you want to be able to get off the floor if you ever fall.
I do some push-ups.
That's it. Yeah. You're fine.
Yeah.
So I thought this was a great conversation. I think it could be eye-opening for people. I think that a lot of people even recognize some of the struggles that you had. You have a wild story, wild life. That's pretty awesome. So I'm glad that you're able to come on. Aram, do you got anything else?
Thank you for being a survivor. Thank you for showing women that it's okay to play the long game. And I really can't applaud you more for just being a beacon of integrity in a world that has very little. And because there's a lot of women that would capitalize on what you've achieved monetarily, emotionally. They would lean on that Instagram community to validate themselves on an hour by hour basis. And they would get so much fake fulfillment and dopamine from that it would never actually be true. So I think the way that you interact on Instagram is something that a lot of us really need to take example of. Like, before you post something, is this really fucking worth the 35 seconds that I'm going to spend to put this online and put it out there? Because it's going to live there forever until I take it down, or I have to take it down. But it might impact somebody's life for a very long time.
Thank you both for having me on. This was a surprise to be invited, but thank you.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you so much. And as always, bye.